Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. First, we just want to say thank you and welcome to our session, Future Fast Forward, Pioneering the Interactive Media of Tomorrow. I'm Miranda Kerr, and I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves and tell you where they're from and their projects. But we have Doug and Divya and Caroline and Katy. All of us are here. One thing to note on this slide, as well as our Twitter handles, is also the hashtag for this session is that hashtag MCN 2017-W10, and that will help people find all the tweets that are related to our session, if you don't mind tagging with that. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about what we're calling the interactive media of tomorrow and how we can use that to reach new audiences or reach them in deeper ways, make new connections, immersive interactive formats. And for what you're going to hear in these examples, that might include live stream, it might include 360 video, it might include virtual reality, or even some combinations of those. And how the format is going to work today is that we're going to give each person about 4 to 5 minutes to introduce themselves and where their institution is and explain the project or projects that they're going to be representing today, and then kind of reflect on those questions of how is this technology helping you to reach a new or broader audience or make a deeper connection. How is engagement with our visitors changing in general, and what role are these new types of media playing in that? And then where is the future of this? What's going to be next, or where are we taking some of these technologies? And then after we each have a chance to introduce ourselves, we're going to spend some time going through stations. And so you'll notice that some of the tables already have technology set up. There's also one in the back. We'll point them out as we're doing our part in presenting on the panel. And then we're going to have a chance for you to rotate through each station for 5 minutes. But it's also going to be really loose form. If you're really excited about one of the particular stations or projects, you're welcome to spend more time there. That'll give you the time to ask questions in a one-on-one space. We won't be asking questions while we're up here at the panel. Just kind of give you a setup for what we are doing today. Okay, so I will go first. I'm Miranda Kerr. I'm from the Shed Aquarium in Chicago. I'm the manager of digital learning there. One thing I want to note about all these projects I'm going to mention is that we have an education division of 3 departments and with over 30 staff. So the things I mentioned are not just projects I'm working on by myself, but with a whole team. So I want to shout props to all of them as well. And so the first one is a program through a program called Park Voyagers. And Park Voyagers is one where we take the aquarium out into the park districts, and there's lots of other museums in Chicago that are a part of this program. And it's a way we're trying to figure out how to bring the museum to communities that don't always get a chance to come into the museum. And so we've done that in the past with activities or interactives or crafts, but how could we do this in a better way with technology? And so last year we started bringing virtual reality headsets and 360 videos of the exhibits to let these kids experience the aquarium in a totally new way. Most of them are experiencing virtual reality for the first time. And then the update for this year is we were actually able to take some underwater 360 videos. We have a new camera that we put in the exhibit. And so when these kids put on the headset, it's like they're actually snorkeling inside the aquarium exhibits. And I have those as part of our demo if you want to come check those out. And then I tweeted a link to this blog that talks all about this program if you want to hear more about this one in particular. And then, sorry, I think it skipped ahead one. So another program that we've done is being able to hand these 360 cameras directly into the hands of learners. And so one of the ways that we did that was with Teen Work Study this past summer. So this is a program where teens who live in Chicago get paid to come and work at the aquarium. And along with general work experience, they also get a project that they're working on. And so one group of them this summer used our 360 camera to take their own 360 videos in the exhibit and then create a line engagement program. So they took the VR headsets out to the line. In the summer, we tend to have longer lines, people waiting. And so they could put the headsets on and experience our wild reef exhibit, answer questions about sharks, and help them plan their visit and plan their day. So it's another way to have their visit to the aquarium start before they even got into the building. We also have a program called Club Shed, and this is another one where we handed these 360 cameras over to the teens and let them create 360 tours out in nature and be able to share that with their peers. And so thinking about these questions, why are we using 360 cameras? Well, it's allowed us to bring the aquarium to learners at other locations. Specifically, the Park District program is a great example because we're able to bring that experience to people that aren't at the aquarium. and also allows us to make a deeper connection. Being in the learning division, for me, I love to be able to hand the tool directly to the learner and give them the chance to experiment with new technology and create these 360 videos themselves and figure out how they want to share that. And I think that we're going to see that our visitors, our learners, our guests, whatever you call them, have this desire for a more immersive experience, for something new. And so I think the future still is in AR and VR and 360, and I know there's different opinions on that, but I still think that's a growing field and a place where we as museums need to be exploring and need to be seeing where we're going to be moving into that and how we can use that. And then just really being open to what's next. What could be the next technology? What's the next tool that we want to pilot with and try new things with our learners? So I will pass that over. Oh, sorry, my slides must get out of order. And then for our demo station, I have VR headsets, I have the 360 underwater camera, and then I have the video that we created inside the aquarium if you want to check any of those out, or if you have any questions about any of these programs, that's what I'll be demoing. And my table is this one right up front so that I can also run the timer. Okay, sorry, now I'll pass it over to Doug.
All right, so I'm Doug Ray. I'm the social media manager at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. We're sort of an experiential science museum, and I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of cell phone-based live video. So there are a lot of different platforms that have sort of emerged over the past 2 or 3 years. That allow you to basically pull your phone out of your pocket and just sort of immediately go live. This isn't news. This is, been like sort of the big trend in social video over the past 18 months or whatever. For matters of this presentation, I'm going to talk primarily about Facebook Live. That's primarily where we operate at Franklin Institute. So before Facebook Live launched, we did a little bit on YouTube, we did a little bit on Periscope, but live video in general has been really sort of great for us in that it really fits within the brand and the ethos and the just sort of like, well, it's a new and interesting way to connect with our audience in ways that we have been doing so for, almost 200 years. Live video, it's fast and instantaneous. It's pretty easy to set up. You have low production, although there's an asterisk there. It feels pretty native to what we're doing in our museum. It provides a means for us to provide sort of a robust contextualization in real time of events that are going on in our world. That's, big news stories in science and stuff like that. We can sort of, grab our cell phones and immediately provide a Franklin Institute narrative to it. It's available from anywhere, again, asterisks, and it provides, this real-time dialogue with our audience that, we can have real-time Q&As and we can, engage our digital audience around the world in a very sort of native kind of operation. So it's been great for us. Initially, it was sort of like a big experiment. As I say, like low production is a big advantage, but it's also, as soon as the audio doesn't work, like that's a great way to get engagement from your audience is have terrible audio because they will comment incessantly about how bad the audio is. And available from anywhere is also great, except when you've promised to do a Facebook Live and you don't have any data connection on your phone. So all those things to consider. So our goals with Facebook Live initially was just experimentation, but as we've become more comfortable with the platform has been, provide these real-time updates on, events that are happening in the world. Give our audience a means of engaging with us in real time and being able to ask questions of our scientists and whatnot. Sort of building our community, providing a native digital experience, and also increasing visibility on events that we have in the building. So, if we're doing like an adult-focused program in the evening and we're blowing a bunch of stuff up, as we tend to do at a science museum, it's come into this experience, and maybe that also like sort of translates to a conversion later down the road, because they're like, oh, that looks fun. So the challenges, as I pointed out earlier, audio quality is a huge challenge. If you come over to my table, I'll talk about sort of our hacks of getting around that. Video quality. Sometimes it's tricky responding to comments in a live format, because they'll come in and you'll be in the middle of a thought and then you'll forget about it. The analytics have by and large been inconsistent, so sometimes you don't know how effective things are being, and sometimes trying to do show-based content is a little bit tricky. I can explain more over at my table. So that's it for me.
Hey everybody, my name is Divya Heffley, and I'm the Senior Program Manager of the Hillman Photography Initiative, which is at Carnegie Museum of Art here in Pittsburgh. I'm excited to talk about my demo today called Styles and Customs of the 2020s. It's a fully immersive virtual reality artwork experienced on the HTC Vive and commissioned from 2 artist studios. It's one of the projects of the Hillman Photography Initiative, which is an incubator for innovative thinking about photography, and the program that I've been managing and directing for the past 6 years. So this project was based on a prompt: how do photographic technologies shape our perception of people, places, and things in the virtual realm? We began by sharing this prompt with the artist studio DIS. They're a New York-based collective of 4 artists who work on digital platforms and in installations and curating that critique art, who critique art, culture, and kind of the future of the internet. They responded to this prompt with a visually and philosophically rich creative brief, which was essentially a 50-page PDF deck titled Styles and Customs of the 2020s. It presented a not too distant future, right, 2020s, dystopia, where all of the social ills of today, climate change, social unrest, global economic inequities, are magnified 100-fold. We then shared this deck with Scatter. Now, Scatter is a new media collective, and they have experience across a range of immersive media, from virtual, augmented, and mixed reality. And we asked them to interpret and build this deck in virtual reality. Now, because Scatter promotes mentorship and multi-voiced VR work, they selected 4 artists and trained them in Unity, which is the platform on which this experience is built, as well as photographic techniques like 3D modeling and volumetric filmmaking and photogrammetry, which is what was used to capture the data to build this artwork. So the experience begins in an ancient cave animated by the flickering light of an age-old fire, and as the cave begins to dissolve, you're transported forward in time to one of these 4 scenes from the future. You then return to the cave, which concludes the experience. 2 headsets, like I said, on the HTC Vive were installed on a custom-designed rolling cart and in the museum's Hall of Architecture, which is our cast collection, for 6 months earlier this year, and staffed full-time by gallery ambassadors anytime the experience was open. Now, thanks to feedback from our gallery ambassadors, we feel the experience created multiple opportunities for deep visitor engagement. And like Miranda said, for our visitors, this is also one of their first experiences with VR, let alone high-end VR on an HTC Vive. Here we go. Our first key takeaway, which should come as no surprise to this crowd, is that when you offer exciting new technology that is robust and well-designed to withstand daily use multiple times over 6 months, you're going to build a base of visitors who are excited to try something new and who are going to want to come back and spread the word to others. Even more importantly, when the experience is fully staffed, like I said, we had gallery ambassadors, the potential for engagement skyrockets. Our ambassadors were openly welcoming, and they were trained in various techniques to reduce anxiety, such as offering the headset without the headphones, which is how we got multiple groups of school-age children through the experience, and a lot of skittish adults, because when you have both the headset and the headphones on, it truly is completely immersive, and that was just a little bit too much for some people. Another critical part of the installation was asking visitors to verbalize what they saw after they took off the headset. The ambassadors asked, "Where did you go and what did you see?" Now, the artists actually wanted visitors to try to verbalize this experience, which was novel, unique, and non-linear, as a way to promote deeper introspection as well as conversation with the next person in line. Now, this was calculated because at any given moment, the two headsets were showing two completely different scenes, and this was often without the knowledge of our visitors. So it was pretty cool to see some of the conversations that would happen among people in the same party when they realized that their partner or friend or child had seen something that was entirely different from what they had seen. Finally, thanks to our long exhibition run, I mentioned that it was 6 months, we had some steady regulars, and I alluded to this before, but we had people come back and request their favorites and tell other people and bring them back and say, oh, you need to see this particular scene. So for me, the future of virtual reality in museums is actually wide open. I think that not only does it provide opportunities for really deep interactive visitor engagement, but it really is a medium of critical artistic inquiry, as we saw with our project, and ultimately, I think, also a collections object, which opens up some really interesting and tough questions about how we collect digital. So our demo is actually in the far back, in that back corner, and I'm here with my colleague Natalia, who is amazing and without whom this project would not have happened. So the two of us will be back there. We'll have two headsets. So see us back there at the demo. You can also ping me on Twitter if you have questions or if you're interested in bringing this artwork to your museum, because I know our artists are very interested in seeing this artwork travel. So come talk to me in the back if you're interested in that. I'll now turn over the mic to Caroline Record, who's going to tell you a little bit about the Light Clock as well as some other exciting projects. But the Light Clock is another project of the Hillman Photography Initiative, and like Styles and Customs of the 2020s, it explores the connections between photography, light, and time.
Okay, thank you for the intro, Divya. So I'm Caroline Record, and I'm coming from the Carnegie Museum's Innovation Studio, where we have a small but mighty team that develops in-house custom software for installation experiences. I'm going to talk about two projects, first of which is the Light Clock. So the Hillman Photography Initiative came to us with this theme embodied by this quote from Roland Barthes. And the key takeaway here, or the key theme from this quote, was a camera as a clock for seeing. So we were invited to make a project in the front of the Museum of Art that would embody this theme. And how we approached it was we made a town center style clock that is currently in front of the Museum of Art. And so the hand doesn't actually tell time, as you might imagine, since it's only one hand. It's always showing the flow of time, but not its actual position. It makes a rotation every 5 minutes, and then when it reaches the top, it takes a 360 picture of the entire plaza. And so when you enter into the museum lobby, you see an interactive installation that is remixing all of this imagery that the clock has collected, as well as displaying the most recent picture that it took. So you can see if you took a picture with the clock, you'll see that when you enter the museum. And visitors can navigate through these images by spinning or swiping their arms left to right. So if this video loads, we'll have a little screen capture of what that looks like. So the computer has 6 terabytes of memory because we were working with a huge amount of images. And so with each day, I collect the weather as well. And so when I'm remixing this in the interactive installation, I put days with different weather conditions next to each other. And this was developed in C++ using open frameworks with a lot of shaders involved. So one of the technical challenges that was sort of really exciting to dive into with this project was how to make an outdoor 360 camera that would constantly be remotely powered, that we could network into, that we could write scripts to interface with. So I looked and looked and looked, but could not find one in the market. So we ended up designing our own custom rig, creating our own 360 camera. We actually worked with a security camera manufacturer and took two 180 cameras and put them back to back, and then stitched those images together to be one cohesive image from the plaza, with 5% overlap between the two sort of 180 images that we were working with. And so to answer the question of how did this deepen visitor engagement, I'm sort of going to answer that question in images. These are some of my favorite images that the clock has collected. All hours of the day in the museum, people sort of performing for the clock. And I'd also like to show one project that we just launched that's hot off the presses. This is part of We Are Nature, which is a show that opened around 2 weeks ago at the Carnegie Natural History Museum. So this is a visualization of Powder Mill Research, which is our bird nature reserve. And as you spin this wheel, you navigate through a full year of behavior of two birds that our scientists have studied. And then you switch between data sets. So you see how in the late 2000s, there's different bird behaviors, that global warming has actually affected the behaviors and migratory patterns of those birds. And sort of this was also developed in open frameworks. And a feature we were really interested in was that there'd always be this latent state where there's always some movement to the video, even when you're still standing still. And then when you scrub through, you move through the year. But when you're standing still, there's still this lure screen. It's raining or the birds are chirping. So that's those are the projects, and over at the demo station, I'll show a web version of the light clock experience, as well as I have the software running from our migratory bird visualization. So happy to answer questions about that there.
Hi there. My name is Katy Scott. I am the digital learning manager at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. So basically what that means is I work with preschool through 12th grade students and their teachers and parents, and my job is to use technology to help them learn more about science and want to conserve the ocean, which is our mission. So one of the things that I work on a lot is field trips. And figuring out kind of how field trips can be a little bit more meaningful for students, how they can extend the experience back to the classroom, and how students can capture a connection to this beautiful place. Our aquarium is right on the Monterey Bay, which is connected to the Pacific Ocean. And so I would argue that kind of these desires probably don't just exist for field trips. They probably exist for all visitors to all museums. You want their visits to be more meaningful. You want to extend the experience back to their homes, and you want to capture the connection to that place. So one of the things we know is when students care or anyone care about a place, they want to protect it. And so that's what we're really trying to instill in kids we work with. So when we're thinking about this and we're trying to figure out tools we can use to help do this, because we're working with students, that means we might be working with 3-year-old preschool students or someone who's been teaching preschool for 40 years. So the kind of tools we need to use basically need a really low barrier of entry. They need to be free and they need to be easy. So free and easy, which I think all museums are looking for tools that do that. So we look for tools that do those things. And then we also, if anyone's familiar with the work of Seymour Papert or Mitch Resnick at MIT, we're really looking at having our visitors and our students create things while they're in our space, because we know that they're going to learn more through that creation process. So we're looking, okay, how can we have students create things with tools that are free and easy to use? And so what we've started to do is have our students, when they come to the aquarium, actually create their own 360-degree tours of those places. and create them in a way that they can take them back to their classrooms, to their schools, and share them with others. So if they're in, for example, the Jelly Gallery, they're using their own mobile devices and free apps that we talked to them about to create these 360 narrated videos. So we use the free app Cardboard Camera for them to create the 360 video with narration. And then we also use a combination of the free app Google Street View and roundme.com, which allows them to stitch multiple images together. And so our goal with that is really so that then students can leave our place, and whether they're going back to the classroom or out in a field somewhere or back to their homes, they can take their experience with them. And we can also kind of create these experiences when we go out. So for example, the image on the left of the little girl looking through the cardboard, that was actually at the Maker Fair, which was 2 hours away from our institution, but we had a booth there. And so we had students kind of have the experience of looking at our exhibits at the Maker Fair before we challenge them to build something related to that exhibit. So wherever they are, they're actually still at the aquarium is our goal. And so in the demo station, which I have, which is kind of right here in the back table right there, what we'll be doing is you can either use your own device, or I have a few iPod Touches you can use to create your own 360 image or video right here of this amazing, beautiful room using the free apps Google Street View or Cardboard Camera. And then I also have a couple of demos of student-created videos of things that students have created at the aquarium from fifth graders. And then I also have a Round Me example that we created for, we partner with every Head Start program in the 3 counties around us. And so what we do is we actually go out to Head Start and we work with the parents, we work with the teachers, and then we bring the kids with their parents to the aquarium 3 times throughout the year. And so one of the things we wanted to do is through that partnership, we're really trying to teach parents how they can support their kids' learning at cultural institutions and science institutions. And so we go out to a parent meeting before they come in with their kids. And so we created a 360 tour of the space using Around Me so that they would have kind of this experience of walking through the space as we were talking to them about things they could do with their child in that space. And then when they come to the aquarium, it feels a little bit more comfortable to them. So that's what we'll have over in that demo station.
Okay. So that was our panel. Thank you guys so much. So I'm going to set up a timer up here, and we will each go down and be at our stations. And we're not going to make you rotate through in any particular order or make everyone rotate if you want to spend more time. So it'll be very loose, but the timer will. Do we know if it makes a sound? It should ding every 5 minutes, so you know. Okay, if I'm going to try to see them all, this is when I'm going to rotate through. Does anyone have any questions about that process before we go to our stations? Awesome. Well, we look forward to talking to you guys all one-on-one and helping you experience all these awesome things. So thank you guys.